Alright everybody, my apologies. I actually tried to put out a video yesterday and I was doing some, hang on. Let me turn a little light on. I did some watercolors and they didn't come out great. Like I did a couple of them. I screwed this one up terribly. You can't see the bottom of the legs. That's where it's really messed up. But I've got to work on my figures, obviously. But I started working on another comic, and going back to digital was actually kind of hard this time. I've never had this before. I started out doing everything digital, and then I was sketchbooking. Sketchbooking is a little bit different. This is your, drawing on paper or painting or whatever. It's a whole different set of skills, and I really enjoy it. However, the ability to reverse something, to undo, to work with a guideline and have, your guideline disappear is pretty cool. So if I were working on comics, I mean, that has been my my go-to has been digital. So anyways, this is it's going to be a horror comic. We start out with our Graverobber, and we see him breaking into the cemetery. And I've got a guideline here. I've got him digging up a grave, and then he's inside the grave, and there's going to be some dialogue and stuff, but I'm not quite there. Part of my issue, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to do one panel. Let's try one panel. Part of my issue is I'm a big iterator. Like, I like to try 3 or 4 different versions of a figure. And you do it on paper, of course. You're doing either a lot of erasing or you're doing multiple pages, but you don't get a lot of kept drawings. And a lot of times you'll get like, well, 75% of this is kind of what I want it to look like, and then 25% is totally wrong. So, that's what digital is good for. But is digital the solution to everything? No, it is not. It's a whole different set of skills, and I'm trying to figure out how I would hold a shovel. I think I would hold it this way. In fact, I should probably draw the shovel first, and then draw the hand where it should grip. Oh, come on, man. To complicate matters slightly, Procreate has changed a bit. It is it's not exactly as I remember it, and I was pretty good at using Procreate before. All right, we're gonna say that this is the loop handle of the back of the shovel, and I know I've got to get his wrist and hand, whoops, all the way over here. Like over here. Right? That looks right. And then he's got a hat on because he's trying to hide his identity. And then I've got him wearing a jacket. For some reason I made his jacket long, so back here. Okay, if I've got the hand down, then my thumb should be up along the side of it. Thumb forward. I'm not 100% sure if that's going to work. Okay. For some reason, this thing keeps getting undocked. Okay, there we go. All right. So once you have that, and there's not much to that, but that's something you can kind of work with. Let's take a look at my figure again. He's got kind of a, well, does that look like the same guy? That's close. All right. I know that if you watch a lot of modern comics channels, you might be thinking, well, the whole point of comics is to draw realism, but it's not. That's why you see a prevalence of traced comics or the anime style. Like the only reason you could ever stray away from realism in traced figures is you could do it anime style. You know, your character will have giant eyes. Not me. We're just trying to draw this. Just trying to convey this story. So if I have my hand, there we go. And, you know, every single panel is not going to be like a showstopper, you know, yoga pose panel. Here. In fact, you kind of don't even want people to stop. When they're looking at the panels, they just read the panel, get the information to get the story, continue the story, and just keep going. Oh, does he have elbow patches? Let's put some elbow patches, like one right there. I think that's almost enough. Okay. I was watching The Sopranos, and I think it's right around, it's near the end of season 1. And they're starting to do some federal indictments. This is kind of where Junior gets picked up. But what's his name? Chris Moltisanti. Chris is he's killed somebody like in episode 1, like in the pilot episode. A Czechoslovakian dude. He's killed him, and they buried him somewhere, and they decided to move the body for whatever reason. Let's do a little tree over here. So I was thinking about that scene when they were digging up. This has got to be A. All right. Let's think about it. Not a great layout, but maybe if I put the wall behind him at an angle, we get a nice triangle. Maybe if I take this gravestone, kind of move it at an angle a little bit. We need something up in the foreground too. Maybe it's another. I really believe it's okay to go fast, and it's okay to be sketchy with comics. I'm wondering if I move the wall a little bit further back. This almost works, but it doesn't quite work. I've screwed up the perspective. But that's okay. We're gonna recover it. There we go. All right. We gotta think about how we're doing this as a night scene. You know, we've got the general information sort of ready at this point. We definitely got a guy digging up a grave. Some dialogue will let us know a little bit more information, like whose grave and maybe even a little bit of why. Basically, he's robbing the grave, but completely without dialogue. You want to be able to tell the story completely without dialogue for as much as you can, and then you kind of throw the dialogue on top. He's looking around. I don't know if I've got him furtively looking around enough. And then he's entered the gate. He's digging up the grave. And then some real progress. Maybe we'll even put a second grave in there. And then on the next page, we'll get into him actually, you know, taking some jewelry off of a skeleton or something, you know, something that's in somebody in the coffin. Like we could probably drop our draft lines at this point. This is like one of those grave pylon, like maybe there's even a chain. Even do like I'm wondering if I could do this without tangenting anything. I just tangented right over there, but I can fix that. When it comes to comics, story is key. Story should be your focus. More so than your figure drawing, more so than practically any other concern that you might have. I wonder if I can make this tree a little bit more bent. There we go. Square his footwear a little bit. Oh. All right, now we're going to do some tones. In this case, basically some shading, as you can see these other panels have. Oh, I've still got to do some lines here. Another chain. Throw down like a double wide line there. All right, let's get some of these tones on here. Almost want to make him looking around furtively, like maybe he's looking in that direction, just to make sure nobody's looking at him. All right, we're on the right track, right? We agree? We think? All right, this is my tones layer, layer 3, and I use grainy water shader. It's a night scene. You're gonna rob a grave, you better do it at night. We haven't really talked about light sources yet. In this one, we're not going to use any, he doesn't carry a flashlight or anything like that. We might introduce a flashlight on the page when he's prying the jewelry off of the skeleton. I think that would probably be a good idea, because then we could do some kind of dramatic things with light. But for now, we're just kind of hoping people will go along with the flow of the story. Drifting over into the other panel. And yes, I know you could do all kinds of crazy tricks to make sure that your panels stay separate, but I want to treat this as much like a regular page of art as I can. I had this idea about doing a watercolor comic. I have like loose leaf watercolor paper in various sizes. And I've got a paper chopper. I've got a nice paper chopper, right? And so my idea was basically to do one panel at a time as a watercolor painting. I'm going to smooth these a little bit. One panel at a time as a watercolor painting, and then kind of chop them up and arrange them on a piece of 11 by 17. Let's do some shadows here. And I thought that would be cool, and I still think that would be cool. But it also, it's a lot of work, and by my performance yesterday trying to film a video while watercolor painting, whoops, I might not be up to the task, you know what I mean? But we'll see. I'm using darkness at the corners. You'll notice all four corners have something dark in them. And then we're going to do some stars. I had one star that I was bothered by. Let's do a little cross star. Okay, 22 minutes, and we've got, I don't know, 3/4 of a page. I got one more panel to do, and this is going to be the toughest one. The guy halfway in the hole digging out the rest of the grave. Maybe we'll do a couple of, and like I said, maybe we'll do a couple of open graves, a mausoleum, etc. I'm avoiding statues because I think they might confuse the reader. Is that a person or is that a statue? We'll see. Alright, we'll continue. Thanks for watching. Please like, follow, and subscribe. There will be more comics every day. Talk to you later.